This is no longer a small deal in the world of golf. The U.S. Open just ended yesterday. The U.S. Open is a not PGA Tour event. The U.S. Open allowed the LIV guys to play in the U.S. Open. We told you Phil Mickelson wouldn't make the cut. He did not make the cut. But now, the PGA Tour and its commissioner, Jay Monahan, they need to start thinking about how they're going to deal with this LIV situation. Because what they thought was a gnat is turning into a wildebeest. And the problem is, if you treat a wildebeest with a swatter, the odds are it's not going to kill it and you're going to get consumed. The PGA Tour is now in a fight for its life. Because once enough players switch, and once players get wind that switching did not end their earning capacity, it did not cause their kids to be kicked out of school or themselves to be kicked out of their country club membership, it was not a full REM end of the world as we know it. The floodgates are going to open. And it's not anything other than money. And Saudi Arabia and the sovereign fund, guess what they have a lot of? Money. It's not like being owned by an American company or even a European company or a billionaire. Steve Ballmer, Steve Cohn, Rob Walton. The Saudi sovereign fund makes those guys look like they are worth $1. So it doesn't matter that the LIV people don't have a great broadcast deal. It doesn't matter that the LIV exhibition games, you don't see them, you can't find them. The Saudi sovereign fund doesn't care about that. They're trying to put the PGA Tour out of business, and they're willing to pay whatever it takes. And in business, when you have a competitor who does not care about profitability, but the only goal is to put you out of business, you are screwed. And that's exactly what's going to happen to the PGA Tour. The more big-name golfers who switch, the tighter the screws will get around the PGA Tour, and the faster Greg Norman will get his wish, and there will be full free agency in golf. Because guess what businessmen are doing in America right now? And Europe. They're figuring out, we can now put together a competitor to the PGA Tour that is not financed with Saudi money, that will be able to get broadcast deals in the United States, that will attract U.S. companies and sponsors, and we will work with the LIV Tour. So if the PGA doesn't turn around and start working with LIV, they're going to be gone. All right. Next. Oh, we could give a great one, right? Do you want to we could talk about Greg Norman. All right, I do want to talk about that for 1 second. This is happening right now. Greg Norman talked about Jay Monahan. Jay Monahan is the guy who runs the PGA. Greg Norman is the guy who took over LIV when Jack Nicklaus didn't want it. Greg Norman is being paid 9 figures, over $100 million, to run this tour. He said, look, I'm disappointed people go down that path, quite honestly. If they want to look at it in prism, then why does the PGA Tour have 23 sponsors doing 40-plus billion worth of business with Saudi Arabia? Why is it okay for the sponsors? Will Jay Monahan go to each and every one of those CEOs of the 23 companies that invest into Saudi Arabia and suspend them and ban them? The hypocrisy in all this, it's so loud, it's deafening. This is Greg Norman during an interview talking about the hypocrisy. And guess what? He's right. There's hypocrisy everywhere. Did you know the U.S. men's national team just scheduled a game against Japan? I think Japan just outlawed, what did they outlaw? Same-sex marriage? I think it's now unconstitutional. The NBA does billions of dollars of business with China. When do we decide when our moral and our morality and our moral compass should point center or point left or point right or point to you? When are you in the spotlight next? When do you escape the spotlight? Why do we as fans and consumers decide who gets away with what when? Who gets to have a reclamation like an A-Rod or a Tiger Woods, whereas some people are gone forever like a John Daly or a Mike Tyson? How do we decide who gets the benefit of our many doubts? Is it based on our pleasure of watching? Is it based on our pleasure of seeing someone so low, watching them rise so high that we can break them down and build them up and break them down like they're a piñata? One of the hardest things to do when you're in charge of a business is to be consistent. How is the PGA Tour being consistent? By penalizing its players and not its sponsors? You tell me, Greg Norman, because you know the answer to the question. Money. It is far easier to tell a player they can no longer play than to tell a sponsor you don't want their tens of millions of dollars. All of us pretend, everyone, I don't care if you're rich or poor, we all pretend that we do what's right and that what we think is right is what everyone else should do. That is ego talking, isn't it? How do we avoid that? How do we ever convince each other that what we're doing is wrong and that what you're doing is right, and we're going to start doing what you're doing because it's right? Now, it's going to cost us, but it's right. It's exactly what's going on in our country. No one's listening. The right's not talking to the left's not talking to the right. Everyone's extreme. There's no one allowed in the middle anymore. You're either canceled or you're not. When did this happen? And how do we stop it? I've got it. The way we stop it is with our ears, not our mouths. How often do people talk to you during the course of your day at work, like your boss, and you just aren't even listening because you're unwilling to care what he or she or they are saying because you know the way you do it is right, and if they don't agree with the way you're doing it, to you it's their problem, not yours, their fault, not yours? I love that. I think we're all going to start listening to each other more on June 21st. Take advantage of the sunlight.